to Backseat Directing,
where we talk about movies, TV shows, comics, and more.
We're your hosts,
Andrew
and Aaron.
And we post new episodes every Monday and Thursday.
And on this episode, we are talking about the Oscars.
3, 2, 1,
action. I kind of zoned out there for a minute. All right, we're here. We're just talking. The Oscars are coming up soon. A bunch of movies have been nominated for a bunch of things. You really like the Oscars, and you've been actually trying to catch up and watch some of the movies that have been nominated.
I mean, really like is like kind of an interesting way.
I guess compared to me, I could care less.
Yeah, I value the weight to them. I value the weight of some people who I think know a lot more about movies than me, and I think if I was in the movie business, I would be on the edge of my seat, very excited, very proud of myself if I was nominated or won one of these awards. So I think there is a lot of prestige to it, even if there are valid complaints to the Oscars as well. I mean, there have been years and years of a history of them ignoring different minorities, different cultures, and there's also been a lot of issues of them snubbing movies that just kind of have a bias, things like comedies or superhero action movies. Which I think a lot of people have said that there should be a category for horror.
Yeah.
And there really isn't. Definitely a horror comedy category I think would be much appreciated. A stunt category is something we've mentioned briefly on the show in the past. Stunt actors should get their day in the sun. When you watch a movie like Bullet Train, or even an actor like Tom Cruise doing his own stunts, these, or John Wick, these movies deserve to be appreciated too. So it has its flaws, but I think that it's really cool that people get together and share a common love of movies and spend a night giving out awards, appreciating people who put in a lot of time and effort for those movies. Yeah,
I think the only way that we could make it better is if we did the Backseat Directing Awards, Yeah. We picked the criteria. We voted on the movies and gave out the awards. That's probably the best solution to fix the Oscars, honestly.
Well, we'll run through that real quick. We're going to go, I want to go down kind of what the nominees are. We're going to go based off a blueprint of what the Oscars have, and we'll talk about maybe who we think was snubbed, who we think might win, and who we would pick if we could pick and give a Backseat Directing Oscar. But I've always been kind of curious about something you did some research on.
Yeah.
Kind of like the, what's our segment? Source code.
Yeah.
Kind of the source code of the Oscars.
Yeah, you're the one who wanted to talk about the Oscars. I don't really want to. I don't know. I just they kind of seem to typecast. There's a formula to win, and I feel that just makes it a game of trying to win the actual award, rather than actually voting the best in that category. But I was you know what? I can't really offer too many opinions in the actual voting of these movies and stuff because I haven't seen a lot of them. So I was well, the way that I could attribute to this conversation is by figuring out what the Oscars are all about. It's something that you've been diving more into, so I figured I guess I'll come along with you and try to dive in. So first, what are the Oscars? Well, the Academy Award of Merit, by name Oscar, is presented by the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Science, is an award ceremony that recognizes different achievement in film. Okay. What does that mean? What achievements do they recognize? Well, there's 24 categories. Do you want me to list all 24?
Well, we're going to go down them later, so we'll see them.
All right. So there's a lot of categories, basically. and there's, yes, we just mentioned how there's some categories that maybe should be added, but at the same time, 24 is a lot.
Everything from, just plain best picture to hair and makeup. Sound design.
There's a lot going on. So the next question I had is, well, who votes for these? Because no one's asked me for my vote.
They always say the Academy.
Yeah, what the heck does that even mean? Well, the Academy Awards are voted by the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, a group of industry professionals totaling around 10,000 members where 9,500 of them are eligible to vote, give or take. This group is broken down into 17 branches, which I'll go ahead and list off those branches because I don't know if we'll get into that later or not. So we have the actors, animators and short film makers, casting directors, cinematographers, costume designers, composers and songwriters, designers, directors, documentary filmmakers, executives, film editors, makeup artists and hairstylists, producers, public relations specialists, sound artists and engineers, visual effects experts, and writers.
I'd be curious how they pick these people because, I mean, look at Steven Spielberg. He's an industry professional. He is one of the best to ever do what he's done. Mm-hmm. But he has a movie that is nominated this year for a bunch of awards.
Correct.
The Fabelman. So, I mean, how do you pick who's voting? You know, it have to be people who don't have movies up in this instance? Or I'd be curious to know that.
Yeah, it's kind of confusing to me a little bit, of who gets to vote and why, but basically each branch of professionals vote for the categories within their branch. So actors vote for the actors, directors vote for the directors, and so on and so forth. But then everyone in that group, they all vote for Best Picture. So that's the only one that kind of stands apart, and that's where Best Picture is the holy grail of everything, you know.
I kind of like that.
But I didn't get too far into exactly how every member is inducted into this. But based off of memory is you have to have 2 people that are in the academy that are basically your spokesperson to get you into the academy. And then from there, there's ways to some people have votes and some people don't. I don't know how that works, but there's directors of the branch and stuff. And funny that you mentioned Steven Spielberg. He's one of those governors of the branch of directors.
As so, he should be.
But if he wins, isn't that weird that he's the head of the
Seems
group?
Like a conflict of interest, yeah.
You know, how does that work? Are you not allowed to vote for your own projects? Are you allowed to vote for your own project? I don't really know. But the thing that interests me kind of the most was how the Best Picture was kind of worked out, because they do a different system than just accumulating everyone's votes. They do a system that's called... That's crazy. I didn't write it down. Let me find it here.
I have a fun piece of trivia to fill the time in between.
Yes, please do.
So there is something cool with the Oscars. Kind of the most prestigious thing you can do for a movie is it's called the Big Five. And this consists of winning Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Actress, Best Screenplay, and Best Director. And only 3 movies in all of the history of the Oscars have ever earned this honor. Those 3 movies are It Happened One Night in 1934, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest in 1975, and in 1991, Silence of the Lambs. And no movie has done this since 1991.
Dang. That's pretty crazy. Okay, I found it. Preferential ballot is how they conduct who wins Best Picture. So basically, voters rank the nominated movies from highest to lowest. Most years, there's 10 nominees. Some of the years they had 8 or 9, but it's normally 10.
I think we have 10 this year. Mm-hmm. It seems like a good amount.
If a film gets more than 50% of the votes in the number 1 spot, it wins Best Picture. Now, that's pretty unlikely for it to happen just out of the bat. So assuming that doesn't happen, which most of the time that's the case, the film with the least amount of votes in that number 1 spot gets eliminated, and all of the people who voted for that film to be first, we go to their second place, and that movie gets all of those votes. Does that make sense?
That's strange.
Yeah.
So all the people that voted for which movie? The first place movie?
Yep. So all the people who voted for the movie that got the least amount of votes, all of those who put that as first place.
Their second place pick then wins?
Their second place pick then gets a vote.
Oh, I see. Because it's eliminated the votes for the first person.
Correct.
Okay.
And you continue
their second place vote moves up to the first place for them, basically.
Basically. And that continues until a film has 50% of the votes.
Seems unnecessarily complicated when you could just give it to the movie that had the most first place votes.
So it kind of makes sense, but it kind of doesn't, right? Because when I was reading through, the reason that they do this is because they don't want a film to win Best Picture when it had 10% of the votes. So this is a way to kind of fluff the stats, it seems like, because it's like, oh, the winner, they had 50% or more of the votes, like everyone really liked it. So it's kind of a way to figure out their favorite movie, like
the
kind
average.
Yeah.
Like a mean favorite movie.
Kinda, right? Like
the one that the most people liked the most.
Right. So
it's, rather than like the majority of people picked as number one.
Right.
Which is like a kind of like a slim margin of difference
in
those two explanations.
Yeah. So I wonder how often it's different. Like from that first vote. Let's say this movie got 10% of the votes, they're in first place, they win. Well, did they win if you did this method as well? Or is it something different? So interesting, right?
Yeah. It's
all
strange.
the other winners are just one vote, that's the vote, and it moves on.
It's like the Electoral College of movies.
Yes, and this is the main reason why I've never really cared for the Oscars, is that it's very political. And you basically, in order to win an Oscar, especially for Best Picture, you have to do a whole campaign as if you're running for president.
Something a lot of people might not know about the Oscars is that you have to you have a team behind you that's going to help campaign for the movie. They're going to pick a position for you. So I think the biggest differentiating area is usually between are we going to campaign for Best Supporting Actor? Are we going to campaign for Best Actor or Actress? The differentiating factor is, it can be screen time, it can be importance it can be amount of lines written in the script, and the one you pick can affect whether you win or not. So that I think a good way to explain the political aspect is somebody has to pick what you're campaigning for. You have to campaign in a way, fight for that spot to be nominated to win, and then the voting system occurs. It's not simply a room full of objective people looking at all the movies that came out that year and deciding. It has to be campaigned for.
It's also hey, we're not making this movie to tell the best story or be the most creative. We're making this movie to try to win this award to get more recognition for our movie.
And you can tell the movies that attempted to schmooze the Oscars.
Yeah.
They call Oscar bait.
Let's go.
They call it Oscar bait for a reason.
We said that at the same time, but we couldn't say our intro at the same time.
It's just when we plan it. Yeah. It's when we can't work it out. But do you want to go into the individual categories?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so we're going to go in order from the Oscars website, oscars.org, if you want to follow along. Actors in a leading role. The nominees are Austin Butler for Elvis, Colin Farrell for The Banshees of Inisherin, Brendan Fraser for The Whale, Paul Mescal for Aftersun, and Bill Nighy for Living. And this is a tough category for me because I've missed a lot of these movies. I think Colin Farrell did a good job in Banshees. I think that if I had to guess, Brendan Fraser's probably going to win from the Academy, and I'm definitely gonna have watched The Whale by the time that the Oscars rolls around, so I can have a stake and an opinion in this. Mm-hmm. I think I'd like to see him win, outside of the fact that I haven't seen a lot of these movies. But I think from everything I've heard, the buzz, and just from having an idea of who Brendan Fraser is as a person, I'd be excited to see him win. And I think it comes with an awesome resurgence story, kind of like we're getting to see with the cast of Everything Everywhere All at Once. But I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next category because I don't have much thoughts on that one. Actor in a supporting role, they have and you can see a lot of these roles just watching Banshees of Inisherin. So Brendan Gleeson's in Banshees, Brian Tyree Henry from Causeway, Judd Hirsch from The Fablemans, Barry Keoghan from The Banshees of Inisherin, and Ki Hoi Kwan for Everything Everywhere All at Once. And while I love Barry Keoghan's performance in Banshees, it's probably the most entertaining part of that movie for me, in a movie that I really didn't love. The way he plays, like, being drunk is very entertaining. Plus, like, the emotional aspect of his unrequited love is really well performed. So I would have to vote for...
You watched The Banshees not that long ago, like a week ago or so.
Yeah.
And you didn't really like it?
No, I was kind of saying earlier that I think I might give it like a 6 out of 10. Feels like it's so...
And like, not that your opinion is like the highest opinion in movies or whatnot, but I feel like that's a common thing. You know, like a lot of people, movie watchers, don't really relate to the movies that are nominated for these awards as much, you know?
Yeah, I feel like...
And maybe that's why it's awards from the industry professionals to the industry professionals.
I appreciate the movies that can be enjoyed by the industry professionals and just as much be as enjoyed by the common audience. So like, that's what I love about Everything Everywhere All at Once, is I feel like it's an Oscar movie for the people. Mm-hmm. And Ki Hoi Kwan's performance in this is who I would give actor in a supporting role to, just because like, he's the most lovable character in one of the most lovable movies of the year. And I don't think that a different person could have pulled it off as well. I think that he makes that character, like, you just love to see Waymond on screen, like, yeah. and he makes it work. Even though, like I said, Barry Keoghan, phenomenal job acting in that movie. Plus, the enjoyment of the movie affects how I view their performance overall too, which, you know, could be said to be unfair. But Banshees is just slower. It's a dark comedy, which isn't really my first choice of a genre. So I'm more partial to Everything Everywhere. But then going on to actress in a leading role, Cate Blanchett's nominated for Tar, Ana de Armas is nominated for Blonde, Andrea Riseborough for To Leslie, Michelle Williams for The Fablemans, and Michelle Yeoh for Everything Everywhere All at Once. I think that Cate Blanchett's probably going to win based on buzz for her role in Tar, but my vote would be for Michelle Yeoh in Everything Everywhere All at Once. How did you feel about her performance in that movie? I know Everything's a movie you've seen.
Yeah, great. I'd be happy with it. I haven't seen any of the other ones. So give it to her.
So you have to... That's what I like about this too, is I usually will root for obviously only the movies that I've seen. Yeah. So I'll just be sitting there hoping that movie wins.
Didn't nobody like Blonde?
It wasn't very well received.
Any good things about it,
yeah.
Really.
I mean, it doesn't mean her performance was bad. The movie has a lot of other things going for it than her performance, but I like Ana de Armas a lot.
Shouldn't it be from a well-received movie?
I think you can have a great performance in a movie that
does theatrically be the best of the year.
One of the best performances of the year, sure. I mean, your performance can't carry a whole movie. Think about it. I don't think you can have one of the best performances of the year if the writing is terrible, but if the other things about the movie are what people didn't like. You know, the writing might be good, but the plot is something people didn't like. I mean, I guess the plot's a biopic, so you can't really argue against the plot.
And that's kind of the writing, though, I feel like.
Well, the writing, I think, is a lot in the dialogue, too. I think more so if the dialogue...
How they execute the plot.
I mean, I think of the writing being what is said versus what actually happens. And if what happens is what makes people not like the movie, that's not really her fault. She can phenomenally act, deliver all her lines, physical acting, you know, all of the other aspects that go into a performance. The plot isn't really on her.
Yeah.
But I'd love to see Michelle Yeoh win for this also. I think Everything Everywhere All at Once, I'm not going to say it deserves all the awards this year, but I think it deserves to be a contender for all these positions. Actress in a leading role, or actress in a supporting role, I'm sorry. Angela Bassett was nominated for Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Hong Chaw was nominated for The Whale. Carrie Condon for Banshees of Inisherin. Jamie Lee Curtis for Everything Everywhere All at Once, and Stephanie Hsu for Everything Everywhere All at Once. And finally, we've reached a category where there's only one performance I haven't seen, which the performance I haven't seen is from The Whale. And again, I still intend to watch that. Carrie Condon's amazing in Banshees, but I would ultimately, for me, have to give it to Stephanie Hsu from Everything Everywhere All at Once. You've seen at least 3 of the performances in this. Do you have somewhere you'd like to weigh in?
I mean,
Angela Bassett.
Can Everything Everywhere All at Once win them all? I feel like it shouldn't be like that.
Well, it's, you can't give out awards based on sharing.
I know, but like, does that just mean that they had the best marketing team behind them?
No, I mean their marketing team
to get them out.
Their marketing team didn't affect the choices for me, I wouldn't say.
Yeah. I don't know. Any of them. Give it to any of them.
I think Carrie Condon has a good chance of winning from the Academy, but I would give it to Stephanie Sue. She has amazing performance in that movie as the daughter. Animated feature film: Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, The Sea Beast, and Turning Red. And I'm not a fan of Pinocchio, but I think that's the movie that's going to win. And we can come back to this too afterwards. We'll see how accurate my predictions were.
All right.
I personally, the one of these that I enjoyed the most was The Sea Beast, but I think it has no chance of winning. The Sea Beast is just really beautiful. It's so beautifully animated. I watched it like 3 times in the 2 weeks after it came out, because I watched it and Sierra fell asleep, and then I watched it again with her, and then I think I watched it again with like my niece and nephews, and I just don't get tired of looking at it.
Yeah,
and it's beautiful. Plus, it has Carl Urban's voice, and I'm like a Carl Urban fanboy. Do you have an opinion towards these? If not, that's okay.
Nope.
Man, you hate the Oscars. Cinematography: All Quiet on the Western Front is nominated. Bardo, False Chronicle of a Handful of Truths. Elvis, Empire of Light, and Tar. I would be rooting for All Quiet on the Western Front because I think it's a really beautiful movie. All Quiet on the Western Front to me has the feel of when you're watching a movie that is like better than you can appreciate. Like the fact that, to me, I'm not usually that big on war movies. I really like Hacksaw Ridge, but I'm not huge on war movies, and I kind of got pretty bored throughout this movie. But it is beautiful. The plot just isn't all there for me. It's historically based, but it's just...
Did Avatar: The Way of Water get nominated for anything?
Yes, you'll see.
Okay.
But I think that cinematography for me this year ultimately would go to none of the nominees. If I could really choose, I would give it to The Batman. I think this is the biggest affront to me this year in the Oscars is The Batman not being nominated for cinematography, and it literally only has to be because it's a superhero movie. Mm-hmm. I was gonna say Superman movie, but why would it not be nominated? It's so beautifully filmed. The lighting is amazing. The shots are amazing. They film action in such an fantastic, phenomenal way where
it's one of the main reasons why I like watching it so much.
Because of the cinematography, yeah. Right? Like, you can follow the action. It's beautiful. It's stunning. It enhances the story the way they shot it.
The way it looks. Yeah,
oh definitely. My gosh. The use of colors, like the reds and the blues, especially the reds. I think it's a complete affront that it wasn't nominated. It's infuriating. But the movie that I think will probably win, I'm going to say All Quiet on the Western Front. I think I'm most likely to be wrong with that one of the ones I've guessed so far. But for costume design, Babylon is nominated, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, Elvis, Everything Everywhere All at Once, and Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. I think, and I could be wrong here, it is a superhero movie, but I think Black Panther: Wakanda Forever may win this category.
I feel like it has to. The costumes look so good.
I think I would pick that, but my runner-up would still be Everything Everywhere All at Once. Because Stephanie Sue's outfits throughout the movie are they keep you in the movie guessing what she's going to wear next, and she looks so cool, and she goes from dressed like a golfer to all these crazy different outfits. So it's also part of the plot, which I always love when one of these factors goes into the plot itself. Mm-hmm. So then next we have directing. Banshees of Inisherin is nominated, Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Fabelmans, Tar, and Triangle of Sadness. I kind of think that James Cameron should have been nominated for Avatar: Way of Water for directing because it's such a huge feat of filmmaking that he pulled off. I think that he was kind of snubbed in this aspect. Mm-hmm. Have the urge to give it to Everything Everywhere All at Once. I think that or maybe The Fabelmans, but I think Tar is probably going to win.
Give it to the marketing team. All right, they deserve the Oscar.
There should be. They tossed that one in.
They wrapped you in. They got you.
I think Tar is going to win Best Directing, But I definitely think that James Cameron did something amazing. Joseph Kosinski did something amazing with Top Gun Maverick. Those two would have been good picks as well. For this is the scale of the movie they put on, like to direct something like that. Not necessarily that it flat out takes more talent than directing a small film or an independent film, but there's a lot more balls in the air. So it's definitely a very different animal, a different beast to approach, and I think they.
What about Taika Waititi for Thor: Love and Thunder? Why isn't he nominated?
Let me just unplug your microphone.
Because it's a superhero movie. Gosh darn it. The Academy just doesn't appreciate good film. Why isn't he on this list?
I'm about to skip over documentary feature film. I'm going to skip over documentary short film.
Rude.
I don't watch those movies. I don't have anything to say about them.
Documentaries.
Film editing. The Banshees of Inisherin was nominated. Elvis. Everything Everywhere All at Once. Tar and Top Gun Maverick. I think this category, without a doubt, should go to Top Gun Maverick.
Thank you.
I mean...
Yes.
EEAO is great. It's edited super well. And Sierra, my fiance, if viewers don't know, she thinks everything should get best editing. Which, I mean, it's amazing.
Good.
The way they cut between different realities is fantastic. But Top Gun, the way that they had to cut together these and thousands of hours of footage, I believe. I think it was like, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 hours of footage they might have had. And
I couldn't even imagine.
Yeah. And like high-speed planes, jets moving through the air, they edited that together, and you can follow the action effortlessly in this movie while planes travel hundreds of miles per hour.
People without imagination
can't. Yeah, of course. Us.
Yeah. Yes.
You didn't say.
We really needed editing to step it up, otherwise we'd have no idea what's going on in this film.
Aaron's referencing a comment that roasted us for saying that Top Gun from like 1985 was difficult to follow in the action. When it was, but this movie is so well edited, and is that the movie you were thinking would get it as well?
Yeah,
best editing. I think it will win it. I think it legitimately will.
Good, it deserves to. I really like that movie.
It's a great movie.
Yeah, I love that movie.
I want to take this time to thank our audience for listening. If you made it this far, we really appreciate anybody who listens to or watches the show. We do put out new episodes every Monday and Thursday, and we put them out on YouTube as well as all podcast platforms.
Yeah, we're consistent, and that's how we're going to make this thing grow, is that we're just not going to give up. We're just going to post every single week. You can rely on us. Every Monday, every Thursday, new episode. We might be an hour late, but no big deal. It's coming out Monday and Thursday.
And if you'd like to make sure you don't miss it, please make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell.
Yeah, definitely. YouTube. And then we're also really trying to get more people on our Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all that. Like, a lot of our listeners are on YouTube, which is awesome. But if we can get some over on Spotify too, just spread the word.
Yeah, so listen on YouTube and tell your friends to listen on Spotify. Exactly. And then we get all the views.
All right, let's finish our Oscar talk.
The next category, I'm going to skip international film. The only movie I've seen from it is All Quiet on the Western Front. Then makeup and hairstyling. Nominees include All Quiet on the Western Front, The Batman, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, Elvis, and The Whale. And now who I think is going to win, I think that The Whale might win. No, I think All Quiet on the Western Front will win this category for the makeup and hairstyling, for like the realistic, gritty, like the battle and all the death and blood. It does look really good, but...
Who do you want to win?
I don't know. The biased part of me wants the Batman to win just so that they have some awards.
Yeah.
But I think that Black Panther: Wakanda Forever is really phenomenal in that department and some of these like behind the scenes aspects. So I'd probably give my personal backseat directing Oscar to Black Panther for makeup and hairstyling.
All right.
What about you? I mean, you've seen the Batman and Black Panther.
I think I'm more partial to the Batman, but I mean, I'd be fine with Black Panther winning too. I think they both looked great.
Fair enough. This is a big category. Music, original score. So these are not songs. These are the original score written for the music.
Where's the Batman?
I know.
Why is that not on here?
I know.
Like, that's like the best theme song of the year for sure. Like,
it's really good.
Come on.
It's not great that it was nominated, but All Quiet on the Western Front with another nomination by, let's see if I can get these names right, Volker Bertelman, Babylon, Justin Hurwitz, the Banshees of Inisherin, Carter Burwell, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Sun Lux, and The Fablemans, John Williams. John Williams obviously being the greatest of all time to ever do it. From the movies that I've seen this year, I really, really enjoy the score to Banshees and All Quiet on the Western Front. I'd give it to All Quiet on the Western Front. It just has this like hardcore rock riff that like chills you to the bone.
Sure you don't want Everything Everywhere All at Once?
No, I don't for this one, actually. I know you would think I would. Banshees has a really, really good score as well. It just has this kind of like idling like tune to it that just feels kind of like wandering around aimlessly. I feel like is what the music feels like. But it's kind of has like a little...
How do you think they dictate the order that these are listed in? Not that we're the ones voting.
It's not alphabetical. Yeah. You said the order that they're listed in.
Yeah.
It might be based on release date. I don't know these movies' releases, but I think Everything Everywhere All at Once came out before All Quiet on the Western Front, so I'm really not sure.
Yeah.
But the next category...
Because wouldn't you think like the ones towards the top are the ones that like you might be, you know?
No, I don't think so.
I'm looking too far
That'd be giving away too much. That'd be spoiling.
All right.
But music original song, let's see. Applause from Tell It Like a Woman, Hold My Hand from Top Gun, Lift Me Up from Black Panther, Natu Natu from Triple R, and This Is Life from Everything Everywhere All at Once. RRR, excuse me.
Come on.
Excuse my French.
Oh my gosh.
I'd have to go with Black Panther again. Lift Me Up for this one is very emotional.
Yes. I would agree.
And then for who do we think is going to win it? I'd say Black Panther.
I think
Yeah, I think that has a good chance of winning that one. The Best Picture.
Why is it so far down?
This is a big one. Best Picture, 10 movies. All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar: Way of the Water, The Banshees of Inisherin, Elvis, Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Fablemans, Tar, Top Gun Maverick, Triangle of Sadness, and Women Talking. Now,
what's the criteria for Best Picture?
It's the movie that I think overall, like we said, like the mean best, it overall encapsulates the best of all these other categories. Best performances, best writing, best directing, encapsulated all into one. So, one movie might win best directing, but the Best Picture might have better everything else and still win.
I feel like, I haven't seen a lot of these, but I feel like Top Gun Maverick would be my favorite out of all.
I'm sure you can guess what my pick is, and anyone listening that's listened this far can guess what my pick is.
Everywhere, Everything, All at Once.
Yes, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. I think that I'm really excited that movie...
You'd have that over Avatar?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm really excited. I think I listed my top 3 movies of the year as The Batman, then Everything Everywhere All at Once, then Avatar, followed by Top Gun. But I think that, and I haven't seen all the movies that came out last year, so that's just the best of what I've seen. But I think that Avatar: Way of the Water is a huge achievement, and so is Top Gun. Coming out so long after the original movies and like just crushing it. I mean, Avatar is so special. It's such good world building, and Top Gun has a great plot, great characters.
Top Gun Maverick saved the theater industry.
It did. It was special. But I think that, to me, what's really cool is to see those 2 movies get nominated. Like, 2 blockbuster movies get nominated for Best Picture. I think that, yes, The Batman was snubbed in quite a few categories, but I'm very happy to see this recognition.
Would you give it to The Batman?
Best Picture?
Mm-hmm.
Based on what the Oscars I think represents, I think Everything Everywhere All at Once is a better depiction of like the best movie to come out all year in terms of all these other technical aspects. But that being said, The Batman is my favorite movie to come out. So those are just 2 different criteria, you know? That's fair, right?
Yeah, of course. Definitely. I think you can say that this was like objectively better, but I prefer this more. Yeah. I think that's totally fine.
It's hard. It's very hard to be objective.
It's hard to differentiate those 2 as well, even for your own opinions, Like,
absolutely. I mean, Everything Everywhere All at Once, I think also like stood out on a branch more. Mm-hmm. Like if you look at the 2 movies, like Everything Everywhere All at Once, when you just read the plot maybe, is way more of a gamble. So like they had a lot more to risk and they pulled it off really well.
Yeah.
Not that The Batman didn't, they didn't just make a cookie cutter movie or a cookie cutter superhero movie. They did, It's very special.
Yeah.
But Everything Ever All at Once has people with hot dog fingers. Like, it's a little bit more of a risk, and they managed to make it work, which is very impressive. Production design, we have All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar: Way of the Water, Babylon, Elvis, and The Fabelmans. It's tough to say. I mean, production design, what exactly does it encapsulate? Because a lot of what I consider production design in Avatar: Way of the Water is special effects. So I would give, for pure production design, I give it to All Quiet on the Western Front. And then I'm going to skip over short film, live action and animated, and go to sound. Sound, All Quiet on the Western Front was nominated.
So, to backtrack real quick.
To production design?
Yeah. So you think because Avatar: The Way of Water is mostly special effects that it's not?
Considering special effects has its own category, yes.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I feel like production design is how it overall looks, though.
Well, how it overall looks is what I would consider cinematography.
That's where, these categories are.
They do overlap.
Yeah,
definitely.
Because I
consider production.
Typed into Google, like, what is production design?
I consider it like sets and building sets and the environment that you create.
Well, they still did that. It's just not physical sets.
Considering they built it virtually, I'm gonna put all that, how amazing I think that is, into who I pick for special effects.
According to Google, my first search, first pop up on there, production designer is who holds responsibility for choosing what the overall look of the movie will be. So, like, I feel like the visual effects and the world building of Avatar: The Way of Water falls into that category. I mean, obviously, it's being nominated, right?
I feel like it's a little bit of a broad stroke for production design, that description, but I do see your point.
Yeah. I'm not saying I disagree with you or agree with you. I'm just curious.
Just playing devil's advocate.
Yeah, just curious.
As always.
Yeah. Got to keep you honest, keep you on your toes a little bit.
The next category I do want to talk about is sound. So that is...
What about the short films, man? Come on.
No.
We could make a short film. We could be nominated.
Then I would care.
Wouldn't that be cool?
So then for sound, we have
a...
There's so many times I've started sound.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Just set me free.
I just thought we were like having a conversation here.
No. It's just, this is you listening. You're doing a bad job of listening.
My bad. Let me just go ahead and turn this off. All right.
No. I do want to discuss these with you.
Go for it.
For sound, All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar: Way of the Water, The Batman, finally getting some more nominations, Elvis, and Top Gun: Maverick. And the person that I think deserves to win sound is the same person that I think will win sound, and that is Top Gun: Maverick.
Good. That's what I was going to say as well.
Yeah. I'm partial to The Batman, but like objectively and just in terms of sound, Top Gun: Maverick.
You felt like you were there.
Yeah.
For sure.
And they just have such a cool thing to work with, the sound of a jet engine. Mm-hmm. Like, and they made it, I can imagine seeing that in Dolby. I wish I had the chance to. So then for visual effects, we have All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar: Way of the Water, The Batman, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, and Top Gun: Maverick. And I think this is the most given category this entire year. Like, if Avatar: Way of the Water does not win Best Visual Effects, that would be absolutely ridiculous. Like, would that not be, like, insane? I mean, The Batman, they blended in the visual effects amazing with practical effects. Top Gun: Maverick,
you almost don't
phenomenal.
Even notice them in those movies,
Yeah, you can't even tell in some instances, which is amazing. Avatar: Way of the Water, you have to tell because it's an alien planet, but they brought these aliens to life, and it is game-changing special effects. They like broke the mold, and I think they absolutely deserve to win best. Like, nobody should be able to take that from them.
Fair.
Do you think that somebody else should have a shot?
No.
Okay, just curious. But writing, we have All Quiet on the Western Front, Glass Onion, A Knives Out Mystery, Living, Top Gun: Maverick, and Woman Talking. And I would say Top Gun: Maverick for me again wins and beats out Glass Onion, A Knives Out Mystery. I think that the actual winner, what the Academy's going to pick, I think it might be It might be women talking based on some of the things I've been hearing online, you know, the Oscar buzz. And then writing, last category, original screenplay, includes nominations for Banshees of Inisherin, Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Fabelmans, Tar, and Triangle of Sadness. Aaron.
Can I speak now?
Yes.
What's the difference between adapted screenplay and original screenplay?
Adapted screenplay means that, to my understanding, that they had something to work on, and maybe it's just something that they took loose inspiration from, but that's my understanding of it.
Sure. Sounds good to me.
But for best original screenplay, well, you know what? These movies are, well, Glass Onion, Top Gun are sequels, and I believe All Quiet on the Western Front is technically a remake. So maybe that's what they mean by adapted, being adapted from a previous property. Top Gun, Maverick, maybe in a way adapted from Top Gun, you know.
Maybe.
But for writing for an original screenplay, I think that it'll probably go to Tar, based on everything that I've been hearing about Tar. Tar, or the runner-up, I would expect to see win their award would be Banshees. But I don't know. I'm not too partial to the writing of an original screenplay. I think Banshees is harder to write because it's a dark comedy. So maybe I'm more impressed with that one, and I would personally give it to that one. I mean, dark comedy is really tough to toe that line. I don't find the movie all that funny. I laughed a couple times watching it, but it's a specific style and it's not for everybody. But Aaron, you think of anybody that you think was completely snubbed this year that didn't get any nominations, or maybe missed a nomination in a category? Is there any movies you like that you?
I mean, just The Batman, I think, is the first one that, like, really comes to mind, you know? And then, of course, Thor: Love and Thunder. Like, why isn't that in there more?
There's an award system called the Razzies where they nominate, like, worst picture. And I think that Thor: Love and Thunder might have been nominated for, like, 5 awards. 5 Razzies. It's like worst directing, worst screenplay, or yeah.
Oh, man, that sucks. That's harsh.
They really dragged Thor: Love and Thunder and Morbius through the mud.
Dang. I feel like Morbius was a decent ahead of Thor: Love and Thunder, you know?
Yeah.
I don't think they're on the same level.
I don't know. I enjoyed them both a moderate amount in their own different ways.
Right.
But so we have been talking about the Oscars for 45 minutes. Do you want to proceed to talk about The Last of Us?
Up to you. Doesn't matter if you wanted to cut it into 2. Let's cut it into 2.
Okay.
Because what if someone wants to listen to The Last of Us, but not the Oscars?
I agree.
All right, let's do that. So, thank you for listening.
Yeah, we'll cut this bit out if you don't mind doing that.
Yeah, sounds good.
Do you want to start a new clip so that you don't have to trim it in the middle?
Yeah, definitely. Let's wrap this one up and then.
No, I mean, do you want to start a new clip for the wrap up? Is what I meant. So you don't have to you can just go back.
No, because I'll still have to cut it.
Okay,
it'll be fine. Yeah.
All right, well, that pretty much wraps up our conversation on this year's Oscar nominations, and I'm looking forward to see who wins so we can compare and contrast what what I'm thinking deserves to win with who actually wins, because I'm sure it'll be a completely 180-degree difference. Yeah. I'm sure I'll be wrong on everyone that the Academy thinks deserves to win.
Definitely.
But thank you for bearing through the Oscars conversation with me and researching it.
Of course, this was probably my favorite podcast that we've done. I love this episode. This was great. Didn't you have fun?
I had fun.
Yeah, this was great. And
we can't let it go by. We're a movie podcast.
See, the problem is that I just don't think this year's Oscar is going to be as electrifying as last year's. You know, it just won't hit as hard. You know what I'm saying?
Will, we need you.
See what I did there?
Yeah, hit as hard.
You know, They can't write it any better than how it went last year. You know what I'm saying?
They should talk about it. It wouldn't be awkward. They should.
I feel like who's hosting the Oscars?
I have no clue.
Okay, yeah, cool. But they should definitely throw in a joke, right? Come on.
Yeah. They should throw in like a block.
Yeah.
Do that all night to every contestant that walks. Just being careful. Just being careful.
Oh man, poor Will Smith, man. Hey.
Depends on who you ask.
Yeah.
Poor Will Smith, poor Chris.
Yeah. He shouldn't have done that, for the record. Okay, well, that wraps up this episode of our Oscar talk.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. Always appreciate you. Make sure to like, comment, share with a friend.
And
that's a wrap.